a national update on the National Center Update and Certification Program from the new head of the National Center for Pavement Preservation, Judith Corley-Lay. So please help me welcome her to the podium.
All right, it's a privilege to be here. This is my first ever Northeast Pavement Preservation Partnership. I started with the National Center a whopping 6 weeks ago, so I am just filled with knowledge. Well, maybe not. But nevertheless, I'm very happy to report to you on the huge progress we've made in the area of preservation certification. And I really want to try and make the case to you all that this is something worth looking at. We operate under the TSP2 signs, as you might guess from all the little, lest you forget who's overseeing things. The Transportation Surface Preservation Program, TSP2, is an AASHTO committee, so it's under the general AASHTO umbrella. And it approved creation of a certification program for pavement preservation in 2016. Yeah, then you get to the question, why bother? Well, you know, there are a lot of things that really change as a project goes on. The people who select the road are usually not the people who are actually overseeing the construction. And many things can happen during that construction process that changes the outcome in a significant way. And I'm going to just give an example. Derek was at the Southeast Pavement Preservation Partnership 2 weeks ago, and he was fairly shocked. The people, all the state people, are very open about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And one of the states was reporting on a failure that they had, a major failure of a microsurfacing project. And when they looked into the causes of the failure, it was that the contractor requested to begin work on November 15th. The temperature did not meet any of the specifications, but the district office approved it anyway. So, needless to say, that was a two-pronged failure. The contractor should have, one, known better, but the DOT also should have known better, or at least had the intestinal fortitude to say no. Maybe even hell no. But anyway, it really was, they were so open about it, and they just said, you know, these were central office people talking about this, and they said, we couldn't believe it when we got to the bottom of it, this is what had happened. And I think that the downside of that is that for the public, they see that as a failure not of the contractor and the DOT, they see it as a failure of the treatment, and they want it never again. And that really is not the appropriate reaction. So I tell you that story to point out the importance of construction quality and also the importance of inspection knowledge. And both of those things are in mighty short supply in at least some parts of the country. Okay? In addition, we, at least in the Southeast, are under huge pressures to outsource more and more operations. I think some of the states in the Northeast are similarly outsourcing operations that historically were done with in-house forces. When you do that, the preservation, the experiential knowledge goes out the door, and if you were to try and bring it back in-house, it would take you another 10 years to get people back geared up. So that knowledge loss is really huge. I will also point out that people of my age, baby boomers, are retiring at fairly alarming rates, and that also is not helping the knowledge loss in agencies. Okay, and then we get to financing. Oh, our favorite topic. Have you ever heard of somebody stand up and say, we have more money than we need, please lower the faucet pressure? No, the list of needs, it goes on and on. The funding becomes tighter and tighter. Agencies really don't have a choice but to start using lower cost treatments. They have to adopt preservation strategies if they're going to maintain their systems under today's tightened budgets. And we've heard a little bit about the MEP 21 asset management plan. One of the items in there is a 10-year financial plan on how the agency will fund its transportation infrastructure over a 10-year horizon. The Fed, it took them a long time, but the feds figured out we could fudge it for 3 years. We could make it look good. 10 years, your data starts really, you really are at the end of performance cycles, and you're going to have to really do things that work to make this work. So preservation is a key strategy towards achieving those goals. The idea of the certification program is to have certification both for the agency and for the contractor. There are two different certification levels. Agency is really inspector focused. The contractor is really about their process, their materials, their balance, the whole lay down operations. So the goal is to achieve consistency in the result. The currently available certifications are slurry systems. That would be your microsurfacing, your slurry seal, and polymer modified slurry. We've heard a lot about that this morning. There's one for chip seals and fog seals, which in my neck of the woods, that is the bread and butter operation, and then crack treatments. With more topics coming up, people are suggesting new topics. Certification is tested knowledge. If you just tell your people to go to the ISA website and do the online training, that's available. You'll see more about it. People will go, but if they don't think there's a test, or they don't think they really have to absorb the information, we tracked how long they spent on that training, and it was really depressingly short. They were just jumping through the sections. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. The topic areas that are covered by the examinations include project selection, materials, design, equipment, construction, and quality assurance. Again, two different levels. The DOT level would be a lighter level on some of these aspects than the contractor level. Okay. And now I should be talking about the ISA. This is web-based training. You don't have to write this down. All these PowerPoints will be available on the website, and you can, but you can just Google ISA and then look at their training, and you'll get this training. It is really quite good. I did the training my first week on the job. I wanted to see how long it would take me to do the training, and took me 3.5 hours to do the ISA web-based training. So it's quite thorough, and I'm not slow. You may not think that, but I'm not. There are the AASHTO TC3 program also is supposed to have training, but you have to be a member. You have to be a state that is contributing to TC3 to have access. So when we tracked participants' time spent on the ISA workshop, this is the total for all of the segments, 10 to 20 minutes. That isn't enough time to just read the slides, not think about them, not ask questions. They were just hitting next. That's how you do that. But that is not sufficient. You won't pass the test. And it is not training. It is wasting time in the office, is what that is. But anyway. Indiana took a different approach, and I'm sharing this because I think Indiana came to an approach that I would recommend to any state agency. They brought 36 people into central office, to wherever they have some computers. I think they had 2 people on a computer. And they did the ISA training as a group. And in that group discussion, they had questions, they had answers, there was a lot of dialogue among the people in the room, but they all went through the entire training, okay? That is really key to getting all of your people, one, to pass the test, but even more importantly, so you know they've had the information presented. On the day of this certification test, they hired the National Center to do a half-day review training, and it was just kind of the overview. It hit most of the high points, but it was not a direct prep for the exam, okay? If you hadn't done the ISA training, the group discussion thing, you were still going to have a hard time. They did that review in the morning, and after lunch they took the exam, and 33 of 36 people passed the exam. So it was a very successful training for them. So what are the benefits to the agency? 36 people or 33 people, well-trained and certified, really assured that there were people in every district office that knew in some detail what it takes to do a preservation treatment, what goes wrong, how things should go. In addition, those certified people can serve as technical experts in their agency so that the information can be shared out. Okay, for agencies, who do we recommend? Well, we would recommend one senior level inspector and designer for each district, region, or division, depends what you call them. So, and then at least one person from headquarters so that they can be kind of the information conduit moving things out. And then if your agency uses a lot of outside consultants, then they probably should be certified as well. Then there is contractor certification. In contractor certification, the company is certified. The contractor is assuming here the responsibility for training their workforce, okay? That should include having some of their employees certified, and equally importantly, a detailed quality control plan, so that if that question comes up, should we start this microsurfacing on November 15th, that question never goes out from the trailer. The right decision is made right away. The contractor company certification is for 1 year, so it has to be renewed every year. company employees are certified for 3 years, and then we give some recommendations on who in the employer, in the contractor's office, it should be company trainer, company superintendent, equipment operator, crew foreman. Just it will vary a little bit depending on the particular company and the nature of the work they do. And in the end, if you pass the test, you will get a plastic card that is your official certification. It includes what preservation treatments you were certified in. This one is for slurry systems, obviously. The names are all registered in a database of certification, so if a contractor comes to you and says, we are a certified slurry seal contractor, you can go to the website and you can look it up and verify that that is in fact true. I really believe this will be a very effective marketing tool for contractors. If they once bite the bullet, become certified, and they want to work, especially like in the Northeast where you have a whole bunch of states that are really close together, it would allow contractors to move across state lines with a certain amount of confidence in the different states. So we have, we've done a bunch of these tests. Notice at the bottom it says contractor chip and contractor slurry. Those were for self-performing states. Those were, Indiana does the work with in-house forces, so they sat for the contractor certification, okay? They didn't sit for the agency certification. Also notice that the pass rates were not particularly good, but I think Indiana has pretty much showed us what it takes to actually get really good results. For the contractor exams, I just want to point out on this and the preceding slide, the lowest percentage passing rates was for crack seals. That is, I think virtually everybody in a state agency would think anybody knows about this, but the answer is no, they only think they do. So we have work to do on the crack seal, maybe in enhancing some training and trying to really focus people in on the fallacies of their knowledge. And I'll just leave it here with, we've so far done a total of 578 exams. So we're getting up there toward a critical number. We've had one state that has institutionalized certification into their construction process. So a few conclusions about certification. I really believe there are benefits for agencies and contractors in being certified and in knowing that the people you're working with or who are doing your work are certified. There's web-based training available free of charge, and it is good quality. I cannot tell you enough. I'm sure you've gotten the message. I really recommend the Indiana approach. It was very successful, and I think it's something that every state could replicate. All right, then, and that's the end of the certification. So I just wanted to say a few words about the National Center for Pavement Preservation. For all of you who have asked, no, I have not relocated to Michigan. Though I'm coming to really appreciate Michigan because I've now been there more times in the last 3 months than I ever had before in my life. So there is a lot to love there, but the way I explain it is I have 4 children and 3 of them live in North Carolina. half of my grandchildren live in North Carolina, and I am not moving to Michigan. So I am traveling to Michigan frequently. I'm going once a month at least, and then the job of directing the National Center involves a lot of travel to meetings like this, and I can travel from Raleigh just as well as I could travel from Detroit. So that's kind of the answer to the question. The goal of the National Center is no surprise to anyone. We want to improve the condition of the nation's infrastructure, and we believe strongly that low-cost treatments applied early in the pavement deterioration curve, when roads are in fair plus to good condition, are the key to having a sustainable system. Part of the methodology for us to achieve that goal is through the partnerships. I sat in the meeting this morning with the agencies. Agency people are the same no matter what region of the country you're in. It was very interesting, very enlightening. I took lots of notes. Those kinds of discussions spur ideas for me that I hope will help all of us succeed. So I became director on April 3rd. I was retired for a full 6 months. You know, I was getting the hang of it. But I really believe in the work of the center. The Center for Pavement Preservation helped me when I was in a state agency trying to push the giant rock up the hill with my nose. They gave me some tools, they gave me a place to get information from other states, just access to state specifications, access to vendors to ask questions. I believe in the center, and that's why I gave up retirement and came back to work. I did make a commitment when I took the job that I would try to attend every one of the partnership meetings. Now, there are 4 pavement preservation partnership meetings a year. There are 4 bridge preservation partnership meetings a year, and there are 3 equipment management meetings a year. So, you do the math, I'm going to be traveling just really, really a lot. At each one of those meetings, I will be listening for ideas for research needs statements, for training ideas, and for ideas for syntheses. I think there's a lot that we could do together collectively just from hearing the discussions. And sometimes when you're a little bit separated from that DOT role where you have too many balls on your desk, everything's on fire, and and then in your spare time you want to develop a good program. It's hard to achieve all that. I'm hoping that I can help with that by being just one step removed and being able to listen to the discussion. So, let me know if there's anything I can do or we can do to help you. My contact information is there, and I am easier to get in touch with by email than even by phone. So feel free to email me.
Van Carter from Maine DOT. Was it hard to get consensus on what the best practices are, like what the right answer to the questions is?
Let's just say that I've been attending the Southeast Pavement Preservation Partnership. I had started attending when it was created, so it's been like, 12 years. One of the goals we had for that partnership was to agree on common names for every treatment. It seems like, how hard could that be? 12 out of 13 states agreed on the word chip seal. Texas said, nope, we're not doing it. So It isn't easy. It is not easy at all. So, because every state, whatever their practice is, they hold it near and dear to their heart. And I think one of the keys to reaching this common vocabulary is maybe for us to say, call it whatever you want when you're out in your state, but when we're having our discussions, let's use the common vocabulary. I know it's a radical idea, and I can see Texas just cringing that I'm saying that. But you're right, it's not easy because everybody believes they know best practice.
Sir, what the hell does Texas call a chip seal?
I shouldn't have started down that road because I knew it didn't make any sense to me when I heard it, and now I can't remember what it was. Seal coat. Seal coat. Thank you very much. I believe the state that institutionalized it was either Nevada or Utah, but I don't remember which one. Nevada.
I have two questions also. The web-based training is the same for agency as contractor?
Yes.
And if the National Center comes and assists with the training, as with the Indiana model, is there a cost associated?
Yes, of course there is, because unfortunately we're just like any other business. We have to pay salaries and overhead, but we do try and keep it fairly limited.
I have just a few questions. The certification exam, is there a charge? Is there a fee for that?
There is a charge because there is a significant amount of overhead associated with maintaining the database, creating the database, all the training, maintaining the exams, and so forth. If you're interested, give me a card and I'll send you the particulars.
Also, is there any prerequisite or any level of experience prior to having to take the exam? Because looking at your pass rates are pretty low.
There is no requirement, and unfortunately, one of the things that happened was that we had a bunch of contractors self-declare that they knew all about this, and they walked into the exam with no preparation. And the failure rates, I included all of the data, including the very first bunch of exams when the passing rate was abysmal. Since then, I think the word has gotten out that you do the ISA training, you take it kind of seriously, and then you take the exam. So I think things are going to be improving.
One last question. Do you as a group look at the exams and look at the failure rate or on particular questions and maybe, reword those questions or change them in the nature that maybe they seem to have a high failure rate?
We are looking at questions that have just generally very high incorrect answers. We aren't really so much changing the test, though we would if the wording really looked like it was just really somehow off. But we are trying to enhance the training to make sure those points are clearly made. Well, thanks very much.
All right, thank you, Judy, very much.